I think the chair roles were all kind of very open, and I think it was a really bold and admirable initiative that UAL ventured upon, asking me and a range of other industry professionals to come in and try and bring their understanding into an academic environment and see what would happen.
I think it's quite hard in the current situation, in the current climate we're in, where it's very pressurised. There's not a lot of space for open-ended, kind of relaxed thinking. So I'm not coming in with a kind of a heavy brief. I'm really coming in with saying, this is an interesting opportunity. Turn this stone over, talk to that person, open that door, look, respond.
As a chair, of course, I've been able to invite students from other colleges, so I've had fine art students, illustration students, whatever, coming in and joining improvisation classes. That makes the experience richer for everybody.
It's really important for our students to see actually how the different subjects connect together. We always see ourselves as this huge creative agency, and we're always telling the people that we work with here that there's no lone person working on their own. They're always working in collaboration with others.
It's something that you have to kind of practice. You don't just walk out of college and go and work with other people and you're instantly good at it. There are skills, there are nuances to collaboration that you can learn. What makes art schools amazing is people get their hands dirty and they make the stuff that they care about. And that's where the learning happens. Sure, you need a context of lectures and theory and all that sort of stuff. Yes, it's important, but it's an icing. And the cake is the doing.
So the University of the Arts London is made up of 6 colleges: London College of Communication, where I work, Central St Martin's, London College of Fashion, Camberwell College of Arts, Chelsea College of Arts and Wimbledon College of Arts. So together we work as a single group called University of the Arts London. So in 2012 we had a huge postgraduate project across the university asking our students what was it that they wanted from us. And one of the things they wanted was our networks, basically, and they wanted to be able to collaborate more. So in order to be able to do this, we got some specialist funding and we managed to bring in some chairs to the university. These were all people with incredible subject knowledge, expertise, and they were people that were very interested in collaboration and working with our students. And they developed specialist projects with people working from all kinds of different disciplines. Sometimes it would be science and art, sometimes it would be journalism and design or journalism and art. But they were all very cross-disciplinary, and it made our students think in a different way and how they actually use their own personal practice and integrate and work with others.
What was great for me was having that freedom, to be honest with you, having had a very clearly delineated role as an AL, as a visiting tutor, and where it was like, you will see these students and you'll do this thing and you'll integrate with this curriculum in this way. Suddenly I had a whole bunch of freedom to do whatever I wanted within reason. So my agenda was to try and create some extracurricular activity that would really support students in really embedding the kind of industry behaviour and industry knowledge that I saw as paramount when they were graduating.
We teach our young people to live a life of debt, student debt, and then to go and rent a scabby flat for the rest of their lives and work in unpaid internships. And this is the worst tragedy of all, I say, because all of these problems can be solved by young people.
The typical art school experience is that you work as a loner. You're a lone wolf. You're an artist, you're a designer, but you're an individual and you work in a specific practice or discipline.
If you make students and graduates good at collaborating, then you are doing them a real service when they enter industry, when they enter the workplace, because that's what we'll be able to do from day one.
You need to come up with things quickly and you need to work all the time. And I liked how we're just doing decision making now and actually doing, rather than doing research or just keep mulling over our own ideas and stuff. I think that's kind of unhealthy. Yeah, I liked how fast we have to make decisions and do things.
So the intention for the workshops, the modular workshops that I've been running, has been to really give students a taste of what they'll be experiencing when they leave. Multidisciplinary practitioners are, as I say, not even the future, they're the present. And that's our challenge as arts academics, is to build a new curricula that reflects that reality damn quickly. And to be fair, there are many, many people in UAL who understand that challenge very fully and are embracing that.
Mental health and well-being is really important to us here, and a really good project that people were working on, students and staff, was around mental health and well-being, and it was a service design project, but it was there were service designers there, but actually there were people from across disciplines, and that was really useful for them as an additional experience to their course.
I'm Nick Bell, I'm UAL Chair of Communication Design. I came up with the idea of the Early Lab, I guess, out of my own personal frustration as a graphic designer, as a communication designer, often involved in processes far too late. This first opportunity that we just happen to have is in youth mental health up in Norfolk with the Norfolk and Suffolk NHS Foundation Trust.
It's not about coming up with a quick fix, which I do believe design so often does. It's my own work was really critiquing this kind of designy notion of the solution, and I don't believe in solution as something that design should, provide all the time, because I think solutions very often are quick fixes. They're just looking at a problem, but not really about, hey, what's actually at the root of things, what needs to change, what needs to be addressed, so that you're actually making a contribution that's fit for the time you're in, fit for the day and age you're living in, and for the people that are touched by your actions, basically.
Often designers come in at a late stage that you're really disconnected to the people who you're actually going to be kind of producing work or solutions for. So it's about kind of having, almost putting that connection in place earlier on.
We collected information from the bottom to the top, and we just wove all this information through from the perspective of the outsider, from the perspective of the maker. We make things, and we brought this back to them as a set of proposals and findings that they can allow them to take forward.
It was truly collaborative group activity, and it wasn't about end product. It was about using the process of making to allow a kind of freedom for service users and service providers to get themselves mentally into a different place thinking about mental health service.
Something we pursue here is to move people out of their comfort zones, and I think it's really good for people to be sat next to somebody who is completely out of their discipline and actually working on a project together. So you might have a sculpture student sat next to a graphic design student, or a graphic design student working with a sound art student. And what that does is actually push people into seeing things in a very different way, in thinking about the work that they're producing, but also how they integrate some of those other skills and disciplines into the stuff that they're making as well.
I'm Rob Kessler. I am Chair of Arts Design and Science for the university, and we're here today in Kew Gardens in the Jodrell Laboratory, where I do a lot of my microscopy work. and I've worked for since the late 90s, been collaborating here. I think one of the kind of great things for me, which is rewarding and kind of humbling, is the kind of respect that my work has gained in the scientific community. It's not easy to kind of switch to a kind of another discipline and to use their technologies and their knowledge and to do it in such a way that really expands their boundaries and doesn't just cherry pick. We get careless with looking. When you start to go to a microscopic level, you realise that actually the complexities of nature are immense, really, and visually intoxicating almost. They kind of draw you in, and it's the kind of, how can something so small be so complex but be so fundamental for life? And I think I'd always been inspired by books like Haeckel's Art Forms in Nature from early 20th century in Blossfeld, and I was trying to do something which built on that tradition of artists and scientists visualising nature to kind of capture a wider audience. In my role as chair, I've tried to kind of, it's almost a bit like speed dating, I've tried to create opportunities using the contacts that I've established within the kind of science world. You know, you think, well, actually science is that community and we are art and design. But actually as art and designers, we're as different as we are to the scientist. You know, the kind of, we don't talk across disciplines anywhere near as much as we should do. There's a realisation across fields that interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary practice opens up kind of opportunities and territories that hadn't been kind of thought about before. So we can kind of reflect on each other's practice, contribute. How can we work together to improve something? And that was when I was working with Roger Kneebone, the surgeon. We did an event with him at college when he set up his pop-up operating theatre. One student who joined the pop-up operating theatre, and James Winston, and I'd overheard him talking in the corridor about his project, which was looking at prosthetic limbs. And I kind of purloined him to join the group. Really, he was a BA student, not an MA student, and his project was prosthetic limbs. He's looking at how they fit the body, and he was developing a project which was about how to 3D print and how to kind of assimilate the 3D print into the kind of prosthetic limb. As a result of working with Roger, it made it possible for him to go and observe an actual amputation as part of his research, and is now being given a 2-year seed funding from the university to develop his project.
I learned about osseointegration, which is most commonly understood as something similar to when you have a tooth implant, where they literally drill into the jawbone, implant a titanium post, which then the skin seals up around that, and then they screw a tooth implant, a prosthetic, over that. That's when I started taking the idea of, okay, what if I took osseointegration, changed the medical procedure, using titanium, which is biocompatible, basically recreated the leg, from the inside out. Once I had that in my head, that was the bee in the bonnet, and I just started moving from that. One of the things I really loved about my experience at St. Martin's was this kind of, you're in this huge building, you've got fine art, you've got drama, you've got architecture, graphics, all these people around you. And so you're never just kind of in this mono-focus world. It's one of these things where it kind of surprises you that even if you think no one else is thinking the way you are, someone will turn the corner and say, hey, you find you're like-minded and you create your community. And what I, though, always hope to do is keep these communities, like my collective, of just bring people who are interested and not afraid of learning something new or hearing of a different approach. Rob Kessler, Roger Kneebone, like these people to me in London, the Wellcome Trust, the Wellcome Collection are all communities that are like saying, come on, come learn about this. This is weird. You might enjoy this, And it might make you think differently and make you look at something that you've taken for granted every day of your life and see it in a completely new way. And how exciting is that? You know, that's the life changer. That's the game changer. When, you know, you look at something, you pick it up, and it has a completely different narrative than it did the day before. And I'm looking to change the narrative on prosthetics.
Regardless of their disciplines, it's really important that students test their creativity and their ideas. So whatever it is that they're working in, it doesn't really matter, but it's, you know, whatever that basic idea is being able to test that and push it against all the different cultural beliefs and interests that might be in the room at the same time.
There'll be a lot of instances in the future where everything is collaborative. You know, people work in teams, and people will have different specialisms in teams. But they'll all have to understand something about each other for it to function properly. And students who've never worked collaboratively, they're going to find problems in adjusting to that situation. Whereas students who've learned to work collaboratively will fit into it quite easily. And for the past 10 years I've been running improvisation classes at LCC. And I always say to them, I'm not trying to train you to be good musical improvisers. It's more about this challenge of working in a group of people who are all very different. They all have different tastes, they all have different ideas about life, different approaches. And somehow the aim is to find a way of reconciling all of this difference and to work together productively as a group. And that collaborative skill is the most useful thing if that's learned. I mean, some people can't do it. Some people just, they don't come back after a week or 2 weeks because it's just, they're too they're too locked into their own individualism. You can be an extreme individual in that situation, but you can also find a way to work as a group. And if you can get that balance, then you've learned something extremely valuable. And the rest of it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't, whether we're making good music or whatever. That's not so important. But that skill, and I think it is a skill, of learning to work in groups and keeping your own integrity at the same time, is incredibly useful, and I believe will be incredibly useful in the future.
Two really good examples of how students have worked with, if you like, the external factors that are affecting all of us in the world are the projects that were run by, for instance, Ezio when he did the Cultures of Resilience project, which was staff and students from across the university at all levels working together. What it did was actually bring people together to have conversations and really think about some of the things that they could do that might have some change or effect, but also thinking longer term in how they then make decisions as designers and artists and what the impact is of the decisions that they make, whether that's to do with the materials that they use, whether it's to do with the subjects that they're using as part of their main piece, whatever it is, and also how they actually collaborate and talk to others about that as well.
Resilience is, to tell the story very dryly, is the capability of a system to resist to the shock and to the perturbations, and at the same time to learn from what happened. The University of the Arts is a very big institution with so many professors doing, many of them with the students and researchers, interesting things. And therefore, many of these things are also in some way on the same line toward something that could be sustainable, socially sustainable, environmentally sustainable. And what is if we launch an idea and we see who agree to participate, and afterward to try to create a platform of discussion to align what is already ongoing, and trying as a result to have a conversation to create a better and more dynamic and lively environment, and maybe also to have an impact on outside.
The core exchange was essentially an exhibition that facilitated these different research groups around all the UAL colleges coming together and sharing their research. So it was about providing them with spaces to display the knowledge that they'd created and kind of encourage collisions between different academics.
The UAL Gallery is situated quite near the entrance of LCC, and it's split into two sides, down below a walkway. On one side we had what we were terming the Library of the Archive, where materials from the projects were collected and displayed and processed. On the other side we had the event space, which was kept fairly minimal and bare, with a few sort of graphics in the space. And between each event, teams would deinstall and the next team would install in about a space of 15 minutes.
Ezio Manzini was very specific about wanting to collect evidence over the course of the week of exchanges, and so as a way of doing that, we thought creating sort of a library space lends itself very nicely to a repository of knowledge, and then by creating a workshop, it meant, very loose term, just a space that could be transformed to facilitate a lecture or a happening or some kind of installation. So yeah, it was about, I guess, incorporating resilient exhibition design in an exhibition about resilience.
What emerged has been three main threads. One is called making and repairing. The second one is called proximity and empathy. And the third one is called place and community. Many people think that the future of our society should be the one of moving toward being more resilient system.
It's absolutely indispensable that artists and designers collaborate, work together, especially when they're tackling complex societal issues. It's evident that we can't do that alone, and that we need to have the insight, the foresight of the scientific community or the academic community to be able to draw from knowledge and be able to transform that into something that can trigger or catalyse or touch people in new ways. What's extremely exciting about our role as chair is the fact that we've been able to break down some of the boundaries between disciplines and involve students from across the university. By sharing a topic like food production, ethics, healthy eating, it's allowed people to come together. It's not what you do, it's how you can work together to expand on that topic and find creative ways of collaboration to transmit new ideas.
My name is Anna. I'm doing an MA in photography at LCC. Most of all, it was great to be out of the city. And how just by being around plants, you feel like better, younger, prettier, healthier. It's just like, it was really nice in that way. But also getting to know different lifestyles. Julia, the person who was getting us around, getting to know that she lives here. She lives in sort of like in a small community in the middle of the forest, and she collects what she eats, and, you know, with her bare hands. And I wear like really safe shoes, and she was wearing flip-flops, walking around nettles, and you know, it's like, okay, there are other ways of living, and she seemed very calm and happy, so I was really positive, apart from hearing some of the knowledge that she told us.
Part of the reason I chose the workshop today is because perhaps there was less of a framework, and I thought that would be good to challenge myself to do something that required more sort of lateral thinking, if you like. And I kind of liked the idea of experimenting to see whether that would trigger anything off in my own practice, and it has. I've got one or two sort of thoughts and ideas that have come from today, completely out of left field, that I've just started to think could be applied to the way I'm working in my practice, which is good, which is exactly what I was looking to get from the day.
The projects that we've been conducting over the last almost 15 years now is the food project, and more specifically 70 by 7 the meal. And it's been incredible, the response and the engagement that we've had to this format. Quite recently we staged a meal in the city of Peterborough in the UK, drawing together members of the community, and many of those members of the community had not engaged previously with cultural activities. And more importantly, there were 500 people sitting down at the table eating together. But what we found as a result of that the peripheral activities actually generated a huge engagement. So it's not just about including people in the projects, it's how the projects then affect people outside. Some of the activities that we conduct leading up to these large-scale community gatherings include, for example, bread making and foraging, and these are not necessarily art activities, but they're means to reflect on issues surrounding food consumption, the ethics of food production, healthy eating, and much more. And they're also part, I would say, of a much longer process by becoming involved in quite practical activities. It's also a means of including and engaging with people that don't normally have the opportunity to engage with culture. Here in the context of the University of the Arts, of course, the students are bathed in culture and creativity every day, but they may not have made bread before, and they may never have foraged before. So it's this going backwards and forwards between those that have access or don't have access, the knowledge that we know and the knowledge that we don't have, and how you combine that into a final format that can become something collaborative and shared. I've also seen my role as chair as a mentor in the fact that I can offer opportunities to the graduates. These opportunities could be linked to my professional network. Something that has been really successful over the last 2 years is the Art for the Environment residency programme, sending students to host institutions and allowing students, MA, PhD, but also alumni to carry on their professional development through some of these fantastic networks. We have, for example, Yorkshire Sculpture Park.
Sharing past and future lives, giving you time.
My name's Mags Hall and I'm here at Bedgebury Pinetum, which is a site that I've chosen to do R&D for a fantastic project for the Jerwood Open Forest. And I chose this specific location because for me it's really evocative. It really reminds me of early photographs I've got of the American Army, where General Owen Squire was experimenting with trees, using them as antennae for radio. Last year I took part in a residency which was set up by Lucy Alter at UAL with the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, and it was a fantastic opportunity for me because it allowed me to work on tree radio, which is something I'd wanted to do for quite a while. I'd had the idea, which came out of my research, this idea of wanting to have a tree that broadcasted itself. So for that project I created a transmitter. So the tree was basically the breadboard for the transmitter, and it was broadcasting the sounds of light as the light went over the tree and the water retention within the tree, and it was a kind of piece that was happening in real time. I'm going to have at least 4 transmitters out in the forest here, so that each one is a specific station that you can tune into. So I like this idea that you've got to find the frequency, tune into it, and then you'll experience a specific range of dreams, which you can also add to. I'm going to have a little hut or a little bird sanctuary in the middle here with pillows and cushions, and inviting people to come in, feel really relaxed, and then record their dreams. So that's the plan. Invite them to come on special days to come and be recorded, and then they can come back and listen to the fruits of their work later in the year. I'm going to kind of curate the dreams into types, so dreams about people's aspirations and dreams about actual physical dreams that people have in the night, children's dreams. And so really going to kind of have a dream catalogue that's going to become the piece that I'm going to sort of semi-compose really with using material from the audience here. The residency at Yorkshire Sculpture Park was certainly a path towards my goal, because I wanted to, as soon as I heard about Sherwood Open Forest back in the first rounds a few years ago, I thought this is exactly something I want to do. So I had it in my mind that I'd like to do this project. So I've kind of been working towards it, and I think the Yorkshire Sculpture Park was a sort of step on the way towards doing it.
We were really lucky to get Isaac Julian, who is actually an alumni of Central St Martin's as well. But it was great to get him in as Chair of Global Arts, and he worked with our students very closely. He was able to take them over to Venice for the Biennale as well and be part of the project that he was working on over there. That was an amazing experience for those postgraduate students, which is, you know, it's quite extraordinary that you would get that connection with somebody like him and be able to see how that person works, but also to develop a relationship with that person, to find out more about how they started once they graduated from university as well, and how they managed to get from being a student to where somebody like Isaac Julian is now.
Well, the work I'm going to be showing at Venice is actually work behind me, Capitol, and that work is a work which began at the Hayward. My actual project was to have a discussion with David Harvey to basically look at this question of Capitol and to see if I was able to get an audience that would be half invited and half public that would also engage in this topic. And one of the things that we tried to do was to really look at what marks could be for a contemporary generation. How does it resonate? How's Capitol changed? How does it function in the art world? How does crises help Capitol, or how does it affect people's lives?
I studied Masters in Fine Art at Central St Martin's. We're invited by Mark Nash and Isaac Julian to 56 Venice Biennale. Well, I'm interested in state power and politics, and when I read this opportunity, I thought this was quite interesting for my practice. Ataman's work, and he did a portrait of Sakıp Sabancı, a Turkish businessman, with these passport-size photographs. Sakıp Sabancı was born in Kayseri and he moved to Adana where he established his business. And he became one of the most important businessmen in Turkey. His kind of businesses and charity works are still all around Turkey. These are ID photos of his workers that work in factories. And, half of my family worked in his factories as well. I come from a very small city and I live in London now. And in this city I can be myself, I can create what I want to, and I can say what I want to say. At the moment I'm working on a feature documentary about process that I'm going through, which is taking necessary steps to get a pink certificate in Istanbul. Pink certificate means avoiding my military service duty by proving my homosexuality. It is quite difficult to go those tests and being in front of those people that I don't know, and each time I have to deal with that, I feel smaller and smaller. It's quite humiliating, it's quite horrifying as well. But I'm kind of motivating myself to create something out of that, to be a voice. And it's quite important if I can manage that, because then I feel I survived that process. Funny suitcase this is, because you got a black bean and a helmet I know, and those high heels. So well, one day I wake up and then I felt stuck in this situation in Istanbul that I didn't know what to do around the military project that I'm doing, and then I felt really dark, and then I found this black bean, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to express this feeling by doing this performance piece. In my project, I'm trying to create a dialogue between feelings of compassion and threat. Some people might initially feel a bit unsettled by the strange character because they cannot pigeonhole its characteristics, but it has no voice and means no harm. Tension also exists between the comic and the sad. Some people might laugh and others might feel uncomfortable about the laughter. The performance asks viewers to question their feelings towards both the character and the reaction of other people in the gallery. Our perception of those in society who appear threatening, vulnerable, sad or comic is largely dependent on our own life experiences. I hope the performance encourages people to think about these relationships, which I believe are especially important at this time. Is there stuff here?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm here too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This high heels. Like, how do you do it?
Well, I don't.
Oh, God.
The Chairs project was a 3-year project, which seems quite a short time, but for our students actually some of them are only here for 1, 2, 3 or 4 years. It was also how we developed the Post-Grad Communities, which is our legacy now, and it's a really strong community for the university of our postgraduate students, but also our research people as well, how they link into that experience through the research practice that they have, and how we're able to link the research centre work that goes on and carry on the experience that is in addition to what people are doing within their courses.
It's quite exciting to have the dream space set up so people can listen to people's dreams here at the Gerwood space. I'm really happy with how the space fits in within the gallery. Until it was built, I had no idea how good it would look. I knew I loved looking at it outside, but bringing it into the indoors, I was a bit worried it might look a bit sterile, but actually I think it's very fitting here. It feels at home, and I feel like I kind of built a home within the gallery.
I'd like to be able to build more partnerships with host institutions and allow exceptional opportunities for our graduates to go to places that they may have never dreamed about going to and explore issues that haven't been considered necessarily sexy subjects to work on, like food, food health, food distribution, things like that. So to be able to generate a more critical and discursive area of research around these issues would be absolutely fantastic.
Today the degree show is opening and I am part of it, and it gave me such a confidence to say that I'm an artist now. I can, I can express myself any way that I want. I think school provided that so well that I know who I am more than ever.
I'm not teaching people to be an improviser. I'm opening out a situation in which discoveries can be made that are then useful in some way to that mindset or that relationship to tools or materials that allows those things to happen.
Multidisciplinary practitioners they're not even the future, they're the norm right now. And students will come in and they'll say, I want to do everything. I want to be like Pharrell, I want to be a fashion designer and a singer, and well, actually Pharrell doesn't do much more than that, to be honest with you, but hey.
We have a line here that is some of the jobs that our students are going into don't even exist yet. And that's true. We don't know because things are changing so quickly. We need to make sure that our students are able to move as quickly.